Hi, this is Lisa Feldkamp for VM227, and I will be performing a cross-match procedure on donor and recipient blood. As you can see, I've got all of my appropriately labeled blood tubes and for future plasma use pipette tubes here. And I've got my centrifuge ready, and I'm going to put my donor and recipient samples in here. And I'm going to centrifuge them on this LW Scientific, So I've got my donor and recipient samples in there in their EDTA tubes, and I am going to centrifuge them in this LW Scientific centrifuge on the blood setting for 10 minutes. So next I'm going to go ahead and put 3 milliliters of sterile saline in each of these tubes, because I'm going to need that for washing the cells. So that should be 3 milliliters. And that should be 3 milliliters. And that should be 3 milliliters. And I'm going to need to drop some more. And then that should be 3 milliliters. So my donor sample has plasma that's ever so slightly hemolyzed, but I'm going to go ahead with it because it's the best one that I've gotten. It's probably from the centrifugation process possibly, and I don't think that my recipient sample is hemolyzed at all, so that's great that it turned out well. I'm going to go ahead and start drawing those off. Okay. So I've got my recipient plasma pipette, and I've got my recipient sample. Turn this so I can tell better what I'm recording. Gonna push all the air out of the top of this. And I'm gonna.
Which dog is that? The little tiny corgi. Oh my god! Which is no longer tiny.
I did get a little bit of blood in there.
Oh, so cute. I feel like Sandy's
I'm gonna go ahead and put that in my recipient plasma.
Yeah.
I know that will interfere with my results. Just don't have a lot of opportunities to do this. So I'm gonna go ahead. Same process.
It's kind of hard to find. There's not a lot of brands that carry it.
So again, squeezing all the air out of this.
I couldn't find
And try and be a little more careful this time and maybe do it in a couple goes. So it is getting the blood in there pretty easily.
I have 2 pattern pops left. One is my work bag with no hair connects, my backup scrubs. Another one is my Sunday from at the clinic type thing. I don't have to I just have it on longer and I have to do it. Yeah.
I don't think I can get any more plasma without getting blood.
Is that dressing? Yeah. The dogs will love it. Yes, they will.
So now I'm going to take my
Rub it up with this stupid stain remover. Which works pretty well. I mean, the materials I make scrubs out of.
So I'm going to take my donor cells and I'm going to draw from the bottom because I know I still have a little bit of plasma sitting on the top.
Put it underneath vaccine history whenever I don't think there's actually any history. Okay, I like this. I don't think.
And I'm going to put
So it just goes around.
1 drop of this into 3 milliliters of saline in each of the minor crossmatch and the donor control tubes. I think that was a little less than the normal drop, so I'm going to try and put another half drop in there. And I already had my saline in those tubes. So now I'm going to repeat the same process with the recipient cells and into the major crossmatch and the recipient control. A little bit of a finger tap on each one. Get the cells in the saline. And now I'm going to centrifuge each of these to wash the cells. Oops, I don't want to get that mixed up and think it's EDTA.
Yes, I only wear this style of it.
Okay. So I'm going to put these in the centrifuge and balance them out with each other.
I don't know what color I'm gonna go for. Because otherwise I only have blue, dark blue, light blue, dark blue, light blue. Yeah, exactly.
And this one actually looks like it didn't get quite enough saline in it, so I'm going to get more in there to match it up with the others. Must have gotten less than 3 mils on accident. The others all look even.
Yeah, I really like that green. Because I have this color, and then I have purple.
There, that's much better.
That color, navy, which I wore yesterday. I really like the navy too. Well, I looked in my closet yesterday because I always wash. I don't dry them, so I always wash them like a day or two.
So those are going to go in there.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, if I.
I'm going to lock it and keep it set to blood.
Yeah, that's why. Now I have enough scrubs. Oh yeah, because I also have burgundy.
I used to only have like navy and burgundy, and I was like, till like I had stuff like neutrals, like gray or whatever. Then I got like light blue, and I was like, oh, that's nice.
Make sure before I do this that I
And I was like,
disperse the cells a little bit.
okay, well now I have every color.
Yeah, so that's why. So next color that I need is like a royal blue, light blue.
I need to get a pink, but like I want a more like a less like vivid pink, like the like glitter.
Okay,
Yeah.
now we'll lock it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it for 45 to 60 seconds, and I believe this is about 3,500 RPM. So a really short time.
I don't have like a royal blue either. I have like this seal, like nurse blue, like
Yeah, I think of nurses.
typical nurse blue.
I need both of those later. I think we're going to get royal blue.
Oh, wait. So I've centrifuged these, and now one at a time I'm going to go through and pour it off without disturbing the button of cells.
And then after we split up, is when I was like, you know what, I'm starting to work on where I'm at. So I was where I'm at.
I'm going to be all over the place.
I think it was like a year and a half before they got in trouble.
Yeah, because the class that we were graduating with at the same time as me, that they were the last accredited class. They lost their accreditation after that.
was just 30 minutes of math twice a week was not enough for me. Like
It's a very particular program.
yes, and I'm more of like I was telling about that I was mixing classes up, like because in actual school you have like English and history and stuff like that, but everything kind of follows around the same, and so I would put something on this.
So this is my second time through. I'm going to add 3 milliliters of saline to each.
Clock in, do my thing, and leave.
Yeah.
Like, I would just stay because by the time I got home and whatever, I have to turn around and go back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, it would just be. I mean, like if it was at 9 o'clock, I guess I would get to like 8.
And then there was one time that I think was supposed to come in, and Scarlett was like an infant.
Okay, and I need to draw 3 more.
I forgot, and Dr. Gussie texted me and was like, hey, did you ever go in? And I was like, nope, going right now. Someone over? Okay, I'll just try one. So that was fun. She was like, it's okay, just let me know. So I was like, quickly put Scarlett back into close that real quick to get in first.
I'm still opening the wrong drawers.
I do that too.
I'm getting out of myself.
And now I'm going to centrifuge them again. The same process.
Here's your label, Kelsey. Where'd you go? Here's your label.
Seems like the cells got a little more distributed this time on their own, just to be safe. Okay, I'm going to set it to 5 because that way it'll actually start, but I'm only going to let it run for 45 seconds. Once again, I'm going to pour off the saline from these one by one. Doing my best not to interfere with the button of cells at the bottom.
Right, yeah. I'm like, that's my thing. Oh, I see. Yeah. I'm trying to appreciate all the time that I have for everything need to be working in the extra day, and then because I'm about to be busy before you, so I'm just like,
Okay. Got all those ready. And again, I'm going to add 3 milliliters of saline to each one.
not like trying to do stuff. Not if I don't need to. Like, because after that, I'm going to be like, well, I want to replenish the money that I spent while I was doing stuff. And then I'm like, I got 10 times in the savings. Spend.
And I'm drawing up a little more.
I do want to buy some. Literally with everything. Like,
So it's just your wants that you need to pay for yourself.
yes, it's only like, oh, I want to go out to eat, or you know, I want to buy some more clothes or something. So that's like all that my savings is for. For now.
Well, yes, I was like, well, surely that isn't just for like living off of because that's not really a situation right now.
No, yeah.
There.
Yeah, they
And I'm going to be centrifuging them once again for another 45 seconds to a minute.
well, and I feel like a lot of parents will do that if they could. You know, like a lot of parents if they can't. My dad makes like something. Yeah.
Even maybe more than the average with them, but they just make
Okay.
in the basis for
So I've got them in the centrifuge.
Yeah, that
Gonna set it to 5 again, but only let it run for 45 seconds to a minute. And so my final time, I'm pouring off my saline and not disturbing the button of cells.
Were you the one that talked to Charlie Victor? She has something she wants to add. She's on like,
Okay.
it's like, alright. Oh, we could ask for the x-rays.
So now all my cells are thoroughly washed. So I went ahead and respun my plasmas because they were so hemolyzed and it really helped. So I'm gonna draw from them again, trying not to get into that button of cells.
Yes, because we have
The donor plasma is still a little hemolyzed, but not nearly as bad.
literally.
So,
I don't care if you do both. I don't care either. We don't need though, but when we draw one, it's gonna be okay.
now
Should I be worried I don't have an x-ray patch? Go tell Dana. Be like, yo, she's not here. Text her real quick.
I'm gonna add,
She'll get one.
using a recipient plasma pipette. I got a new one so I wouldn't have the hemolyzed stuff in it.
I worked for like a year and a half before I had one.
I just saw you, like, that's fine.
I'm going to add
I'm just lost.
Or she didn't need one because she was a
2 drops of recipient plasma into the recipient control.
because they're
And
That's fair.
2 drops of recipient plasma
they're dosimeters, so they're meant to track how much radiation.
into the minor crossmatch.
People are dying. Isn't it? They test radiation, like exposure.
And now we're using the donor plasma, which, as you can tell, is now only slightly hemolyzed. I am going to
And like outside of your lead when you're taking an X-ray, because it gets the radiation.
put 2 drops of donor plasma into the major crossmatch
Can't do that. You're also not supposed to
and 2 drops into the donor control.
since they haven't done that.
Now I'm going to tap the tube a little bit to disperse the cells, each tube. And incubate all of these at room temperature for 30 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer here. Okay, so got my 30-minute timer going, and I will check back in with you.
Oh, go.
Okay, so my timer went off, and I am going to go ahead and centrifuge these all one last time for 45 to 60 seconds. Same basic process, but now I have it mixed with the plasma. And again, I'm going to set it to 5, but only let it run for a minute. On my recipient control, I see very, very mild hemolysis. And I'm going to finger tap that off camera. and I do not see agglutination. So I'm going to call that compatible because the hemolysis was so mild and I know that there was some hemolysis in my plasma to begin with. On my donor control, I have some very minor hemolysis again, and finger tapping it. And I do not see any agglutination. So again, I'm going to call that compatible because I knew there was a little bit of hemolysis in the plasma. So this is my major cross match, and I am seeing the least hemolysis of all in this one. I'm going to finger tap it and see if I get any agglutination.
Name something really
I do not see any agglutination in this, so I'm going to call that compatible also. So in retrospect, thinking about the hemolysis in the minor cross-match gives me a pause, so I'm going to call that incompatible. But I think that with the major cross-match, which is more important for the transfusion, I'm going to say that that was compatible, because that was much less hemolysis, and I did not see any agglutination in any of the tubes.